All right, Christopher Marlowe. Very interesting guy, very controversial ending to his life. I always found this interesting, or excuse me, I always find it interesting when we go back and read it, because for a split second I kind of forget, his supposed secret life as a spy. I mean, when I think spies, we think of spy movies nowadays. We think of James Bond and gadgets and espionage and people knowing multiple languages and sneaking in. I never think about, walking around Shakespearean time and somebody is a spy for somebody else. And that thought just kind of interests me. You know what I mean? Like the shady dealings in pubs and bars and back alleys, and what truly can they spy on, that type of thing. Marlowe is very, very famous. Not just because of his spy and his death at the end, but I mentioned earlier, there are courses in college. It's just called Shakespeare. There's some called Chaucer. There are some called Marlowe. Very, very famous. He's a side character in the movie Shakespeare with Love, which if you haven't watched, you probably should watch. It won Best Picture in like '98, I think. It beat Saving Private Ryan. But anyways, it's a good movie, and there's a character, Marlowe, and just side by side with Shakespeare in the portrayal of the movie, Marlowe is heads and tails above William Shakespeare in ability. And he was widely, it was fun because people were auditioning for the Shakespeare plays that Shakespeare was putting on, but everybody kept memorizing Marlowe lines from his plays and his works to audition for Shakespeare. Nobody was memorizing Shakespeare's work. So everybody really liked Marlowe. Yeah, a lot of people think that the spy story was legit. And then people are like, well, no, it was just a bar fight. Some were like, oh, it was an assassination. Others were, talking, well, I mean, if it was fighting over a bar tab, why would you get stabbed in the eye? You can't really pay off your bill if you're dead. You know what I mean? So that's where some of the scholars are going back and forth, like, yeah, that's not legit. But interesting life, interesting story. If you ever wanted to do more reading on him, I think you would be fascinated to some degree. The next page, A Passionate Shepherd to His Love. This is the first of two pastorals that we were focused on. This is a lit term. It's very important you understand it. There are really three types of poems that we're going to focus on in this unit. Sonnets, which we'll nail out the next day. Pastorals, and then metaphysical poetry at the end. Okay, sonnets we spend more time with, and then Passionate Shepherd and the pastorals we do a little bit less with. But as you see, the pastoral, the Passionate Shepherd to His Love was not meant to be realistic, but instead an idealized celebration of the natural life. Okay, the natural life, not the industrialized, busy, smelly. This is nature at its finest. So however you have to remember that, because you hear pastoral and you probably think, oh, great, it's a religious poem. Well, no. Nature. Maybe think of pasture like the meadows to help remember it. I don't know. But it's a way of celebrating the natural life, the common life, maybe the country life. However you want to remember it, you will see that played out in these next two pastorals and say, oh, that's definitely a pastoral. But it's important to remember that because people will miss these questions on the final exam simply like, what kind of a poem is this? People go, sonnet. And when we see sonnets, you will realize that this is far from what a sonnet even looks like. But pastorals are pretty important. Marlowe's poem suggests the dissatisfaction of urban people yearning for the lost innocence of a simpler time and place. The simpler time and place, the natural life. Okay, and we'll see this here in a little moment. These next two pieces by Marlowe and then Sir Walter Raleigh, these are like the most famous pastorals, these two. And almost every lit book you will find will have at least two pastorals in them. And the first two that you will find will be the two that we do here. So these are pretty famous. The first one, The Passionate Shepherd to His Love. Okay, there are some repetitious lines that happen. Pay attention to those. Think, why do you think those are repeated? Do you think there's a significance? But think about that natural beauty, that natural life that we were just talking about, what makes a pastoral. We have a passionate shepherd pretty much proposing to his love, to this woman. And he's promising her all of these wonderful things. And look at those nature elements that we see here. listen to the selection.
The Passionate Shepherd to His Love by Christopher Marlowe. Come live with me and be my love, and we will all the pleasures prove, that valleys, groves, hills, and fields, woods, or steepy mountain yields. And we will sit upon the rocks, seeing the shepherds feed their flocks, by shallow rivers, to whose falls melodious birds sing madrigals. And I will make thee beds of roses, and 1,000 fragrant posies, a cap of flowers, and a kirtle, embroidered all with leaves of myrtle, a gown made of the finest wool, which from our pretty lambs we pull, fair-lined slippers for the cold, with buckles of the purest gold, a belt of straw and ivy buds, with coral clasps and amber studs. And if these pleasures may thee move, come live with me and be my love. The shepherd swains shall dance and sing for thy delight each May morning. If these delights thy mind may move, then live with me and be my love.
Okay. The very last line is repeated in the last two stanzas. Ultimately, what's he doing? He's proposing to her to come live with me and be my love. Ladies, as they went through, was this a pretty poem? A lovely poem? Come, look at all these wonderful things I will give you. Okay, just look at the picture and the setting that he portrays. Come live with me and be my love, the first line. And we will all the pleasures prove, that valleys, groves, hills, and fields, woods, or steepy mountains yields. All of these pleasures, come live with me and you will see the pleasures that all of these nature settings, all these natural elements can provide you. We will sit upon the rocks and seeing the shepherd feed their flocks, by shallow rivers to whose falls melodious birds sing madrigals. We're going to sit on a rock and look out over the field with the shepherd and his sheep and a little babbling brook next to us, and the birds are going to be singing. Can you just picture that? You don't hear car alarms going off. You don't hear factories. You don't hear honking, sirens whizzing by. Can you just imagine the prettiness of that? And if you were there with somebody you love, that'd be semi-romantic, especially if there's no smell of, manure in the area. That could really make it horrible. And I will make thee beds of roses and 1,000 fragrant posies, a cap of flowers and a girdle embroidered all with leaves of myrtle, a gown made of the finest wool, which from our pretty lambs we pull, fair lined slippers for the cold, with buckles of the purest gold. Do we see the natural elements? I mean, the stuff he's providing for, he's getting from nature. If you're getting cold, I'll make you some slippers and I'll put little gold buckles on them, and we'll make all of these other things for you. I'll make you a cap of flowers, and just really pretty and real romantic. Talking about a belt of straw and ivy buds with coral clasps and amber studs. If these pleasures may thee move, come live with me and be my love. If these move you, come live with me and I will do all of these for you. I will provide all of these. All of them. And then the last two lines again. If these delights thy mind may move, then live with me and be my love. So if you are liking these things and you love me as much as I love you, come and we will have a wonderful life together. So a very pretty, a very loving poem, and that is A Passionate Shepherd to His Love.